If you have Neptune in the 7th, 8th, or 9th house, I'm sorry, but you really can't afford to skip this video right now because those are big placements for Neptune, and Neptune's gonna go one way or the other. On the one hand, we have the opportunity to manifest, to dream big, to connect to creativity and spirituality and unconditional love. But on the other hand, Neptune can absolutely pull us into an identity crisis. There's confusion, delusion, a lack of boundary. In so many ways, Neptune represents the naive and optimistic inner child within all of us, that version of us that still believes in fairy tales, wants to see the best in every person, place, or thing. I'm going to spare you the rest of this long intro because these are really important houses, so we're just going to jump right in. Neptune in the 7th house. The 7th house is so much bigger than just relationships and marriage partners. It's literally the mirror within the chart. These are the qualities within ourselves that we come into contact with in relationship. This might be what we tend to project onto our partners or what we are seeking out subconsciously. So when Neptune falls in this house, it can be very hard for you to not only see the other person clearly because you really want to hold on to that idealization, but in fact, you might start to lose sight of who you are. You might have this pattern that is so automatic you don't even recognize when it's happening, where you can pick up on what the other person needs you to be and you just show up for it. It's like as soon as you come into contact with that mirroring dynamic, your sense of self starts to erode. You probably romanticize the hell out of anyone or anything. You're waiting for that frog to turn into your prince. I wonder if there are like savior-victim type dynamics that pop up a lot in relationships. Maybe you're drawn to the misunderstood souls because, of course, with Neptune in the 7th, you're the one that can see them clearly. Or you get caught up in these cycles of feeling like it's on you to show up differently in order to get the result you want within the relationship. I think Neptune in the 7th very much shows up in the same kind of way that a child who experienced some form of neglect would show up. You get that bare minimum and you feel like you've just gotten the world and you're ready to give your entire self to this person just because they tossed you a breadcrumb. Yeah, that comes from not having the bare minimum met and believing on some level that that's all we deserve. Or if a partner is showing up and disappointing us, it must be something about us. So don't worry, I can change. So when it comes to healing and protecting this placement, first I'm going to recommend you look into doing the Partner Ideal Writing Project. And if you're curious, I will drop it in the comments. Let me know. You need to get very clear on who you are, what you want, what you value, what you will and will not tolerate within relationships before getting into contact with that other person. Once you have that clarity, Neptune is able to attract and magnetize the right people, places, and things towards you. But if you're going forward blind or kind of waiting to see what the other person needs you to be before you decide what you want or who you are, you're just going to get caught up in this cycle of insanity. When healed, oh my God, the empathy. People feel safe and seen and comfortable with you. You understand what unconditional love really means and looks like in practice. And that intuition, that ability to read people once you've done the work to start trusting it, is next level. Do me, do yourself, do the world, your future partner, whatever, a favor, and protect that precious Neptune. Neptune in the 8th house, obviously a big one. The 8th house contains everything shadowy, taboo. It is power dynamics. It's other people's resources. I also see the 8th house as the vulnerability associated with needing somebody. It's like we're moving from that 7th house of what does partnership look like to that 8th house of, oh my gosh, what really goes into partnership? This is where we merge emotionally, financially, physically, and merging is inherently vulnerable. I'm wondering if there is, on the one hand, possibly a fear of letting people get too close, allowing yourself to depend on other people, because the thought of being let down, whew, we can't even go there. There could even be a little bit of this paranoia. Like Neptune unchecked can also mean anxiety and spiraling about what's possible, what's the worst thing that could happen. So there's definitely going to be something about the attachment styles here. In fact, if this is your placement, drop your attachment style in the comments because I'm pretty sure you probably know what it is. You can probably walk into a room and read right through everyone and everything. You also might have this preoccupation with any 8th house theme. So that could be psychology, anything kind of occult or mystical, counterculture in a way. And I wonder if there's part of you that feels shame about where your imagination goes when you let it wander. There's like a fear of your own inner world. I'm also wondering if sometimes that volume can be turned up so loud on all of the things that most other people seem completely blind to the point where you seek escapism and avoidance. It feels safer for you to be numbed or in some false transcendental state. And in early childhood, I'm wondering if you felt like you absorbed a lot of the unconscious emotional states going on around you, or if you felt like it wasn't safe for you to fully trust other people. Perhaps betrayal was a theme. Perhaps there really weren't clear boundaries and maybe you had to step in and like show up in different roles that really as the kid you shouldn't have had to show up in. So now you think about getting close to people and letting yourself be seen and you think, well, I have to erase myself completely. But let me just tell you, when this placement is healed, the 8th house is about transformation. So the way you can probably guide other people, there are literally no boundaries to how much you can possibly transform. You guys become the true alchemists. And finally, Neptune in the 9th house. Now, for the most part, I'm going to say this is a fun one. This is a spiritual one. Neptune wants to absorb and expand and merge into this and explore this over here. And the 9th house is all about expansion. belief. It's jumping onto a plane and exploring a foreign land. It's immersing yourself in religion, spirituality, or philosophy. I mean, you are searching for a sense of meaning and an answer to those deeper reasons why in a way that transcends the ordinary. Now, I am curious about whether or not you trust yourself, or if believing in yourself is one of those wounds that Neptune here represents. I wonder if you were subjected to a pretty strict or oppressive religious environment, or some other sort of strict ideological standard. Sometimes this placement tells the story of being expected to believe a certain set of, I don't know, beliefs, not being allowed to question them, and then ultimately doubting yourself, while also generally not trusting authority figures, or being too quick to trust certain authority figures, like jumping into the next self-help trend, feeling like this is going to be the answer. But then we're just talking about escapism and staying on the run, and how do we actually ground what we're learning and apply it? I want you to be real honest with yourself about any possible methods of escapism, which can look different than you might expect, can also be dogmatism or jumping from one idea to the next. I want you to look at whether or not you believe in yourself, and I want you to remember that this placement will undoubtedly take you to some pretty remarkable discoveries. In fact, you guys might even become spiritual teachers, guides, coaches. You might be the ones that can help other people connect to a limitless sense of belief in their own potential. But I want to make sure that you are grounded within that yourself. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I am running out of time, so I'm going to have to wrap this one up for now, but stay tuned for the next one, and I love you all.